Scrape down the sides while we're at it. Scrape down sides of the bowl to make sure it's well blended. And with the stand mixer, you always want to be scraping down the sides, scraping the bowl. 2021. Welcome to Earth Eats. I'm Kayte Young and welcome to my kitchen. We're going to do a little bit of holiday baking today. These are ginger ducks with a juniper glaze. The original recipe does come from Sara Perry of Bon Appetit, and they were originally supposed to be trees, which kind of makes sense with the juniper glaze. I get why you would want to make these in the shape of a tree, but for me, the tradition is ducks. They are a favorite. I've been making them for 15 years. We're going to mix in the butter and the sugar, which is kind of the typical way that most cookie recipes do begin. So when I first received these cookies, I received them as a gift, and they were from my friend Melanie in Houston. I think the duck was the cookie cutter that she happened to have, or it's the one that she chose for these. And so for me, I just associate the duck shape with this particular cookie. Half cup of brown sugar. We're going to get that mixing. And with the stand mixer, you always want to be scraping down the sides and scraping down the beater to make sure everything is getting blended. Beat together this butter and sugar until fluffy. Okay, I'm going to call that fluffy enough. That's a lot of flavor and not that much sweetness, which is something I really like about molasses. Beat that until well combined. All right, now that we have the brown sugar and the molasses fully blended, we're going to want to work on our dry ingredients. 2 1/4 cups all-purpose flour, 1 teaspoon ground ginger. It calls for allspice, but we have a really wonderful local spice here in Indiana called spiceberry, and you can collect them in the fall in the woods and then grind it up, and it makes a really beautiful spice that's very similar to allspice, but it's distinctive. It has kind of a wild flavor that I love. 1/2 teaspoon ground cinnamon, 1/2 teaspoon baking soda, 1/2 teaspoon salt. And then we just want to whisk those dry ingredients so that they're fully combined before we add them in. And you'll notice this recipe doesn't have any liquid, it doesn't even have egg. And so we don't have to worry too much about over mixing because we're not really going to be activating the gluten in the flour. So it's okay to really mix it thoroughly and get it combined. It's fully combined. It's pretty stiff. Yes, you can just eat this as is since there's no raw egg. Here you go. But we are going to want to chill it before we try to roll it out. It's going to be too sticky and too difficult to work with if we just tried to roll it out like this. So I'm going to shape it into some discs, and then we'll pop it in the fridge for a bit. You want them to chill at least 30 minutes, but they could be in there for a day and be fine. Our dough has thoroughly chilled. I mean, it is really solid, and it will actually soften up enough to roll here in a minute. Get it rolled out to about 1/8 of an inch. And you're going to notice that it's going to do some cracking, and that is okay. And if it really feels too cold to roll out, you can kind of soften it just with your hands a little bit. And then you can take your cookie cutter, and of course you can use any shape of cookie cutter that you prefer. Stars, trees, but I'm going to use ducks. I think the other thing that I really love about baking cookies this time of year is the traditions, you know, the memories of doing this with family and friends. These ginger ducks really represent that for me. See if we can get one more duck. We can't. Get a duck without feet, duck in the water. So you want to take a little round skewer and make a little eye. Give them a little personality. These are ready for the oven. You're going to want to bake them at 350 for about 10 minutes. Keep an eye on them. Check them at about 8 minutes. Okay, and now we're going to make the glaze, and this is a juniper berry glaze. It's unusual. I had never had anything made with juniper except maybe gin, I guess. I just love them. I love the flavor that it brings to this cookie. And so you're going to start with 1/3 cup of juniper berries. You should be able to find these any place that has a good variety of spices. But you want to crush them up first. And I just use a mortar and pestle for that. And it doesn't, you're not like fully grinding them or anything. You're just breaking them up to really release that flavor. And we're just going to put those in a pan and add 3/4 cup of 50/50. And bring this to a simmer on the stove. Just a simmer. You're not boiling it or anything like that. You're just heating it up to really release those flavors. And then take it off the heat and you're going to chill for 5 hours. So this is honestly the first step that you might want to do in making this, unless you're not planning to serve these right away. Since the juniper berries take 5 hours to chill, I made some ahead of time so that we could check it out. It smells like gin, but it's dairy, so it's very confusing to the senses. The making of the glaze is very straightforward. It's really just a lot of powdered sugar and then a little bit of juniper berry mixture. First, we will strain the juniper berries. You're just going to add a little bit at a time and mix it. And if by chance you get all of your mixture in there and it's not enough, add a little more of the cream to get it to the consistency that you want. When you hold it up, you want it to be able to kind of drizzle. I said that the dough for this recipe makes a lot. That is definitely true of this glaze. And you'd think that you'd find ways to use it, but I never have. So this is also something that is fun to do with kids. They'll make a mess, but that's all right. That's what holiday baking is all about. Once you get them iced, some of us put on more icing, some of us put on less icing. Sometimes they might get a little bit of a cracking on them. I actually think that looks pretty cool. And then these are done. Let's give one a taste. One of the things that I really love about these is their texture. Look how thin that is. It's so thin. And then, oh, they're so good. The juniper is very subtle, but it's there and you can really taste it. If you put too much spice in the cookie, I think you're not going to pick up on that juniper. So that's why I do cut back a little bit on the spices, and I think it's a perfect combination. Be sure to subscribe. We have more cookie recipes coming soon. See you next time.